Hello, Dr. Vikki Petersen here. I wanted to do a follow-up on an earlier video I did about increased risk of celiac disease in children that are born by cesarean section. We talked in the earlier video about the fact that it was thought that the reason that children born by C-section had a higher incidence of celiac disease was that they weren't exposed to the good bacteria in the birth canal that those who were born by vaginal delivery were. And we now know that those very important good bacteria that are also present in our intestine gives our body the immune strength and resiliency to do some amazing things, one of which is to actually keep bad genes turned off. So what we're looking at is populations that both have the genes for celiac disease, both are eating gluten, but one population is more at risk and will get celiac disease more often, despite the fact they both have the same genetics, only because one has a more robust population of these good probiotics, and even at the time of birth, because they were exposed to that good bacteria in the birth canal, gives them a leg up on those children who were not so exposed. Well, this new study out of Sweden, they looked at almost 12,000 people with biopsy-proven celiac disease and about 53,000 in the control group. And what they found, which was even more interesting, is that it is not just C-sections in general, but actually elective or planned C-sections that increase the risk further. And that is a 15% increased risk of celiac disease. And so at first you think, well, what's really the difference between an emergency C-section and a planned C-section? Well, if you've ever had an emergency C-section or known anybody who did, I'm in that category. Typically what happens is that the labor process progresses for a while, and then it's only after a certain period of time, whether the baby's in distress or things are just not progressing for whatever reason, then an emergency C-section is performed because it's deemed that the child is under stress and it just, has to be delivered. But what happens in that emergency C-section is that labor has proceeded for a period of time, and that child has been in that birth canal for a period of time. So they are being exposed to those good bacteria. So in fact, it is the elective or planned C-section where it's all arranged beforehand and the child never does enter the birth canal, that these are the children that are at the highest risk, as we said, in increased risk of 15%, and it's just because they've never been in that birth canal. So I understand that for some women, vaginal births are just not an alternative. Maybe their hips are too narrow, whatever the reason. I understand this is not the perfect news for everyone, but there is some thought to be given to the fact that maybe just because someone has had a C-section before doesn't mean they absolutely have to have one again. These are discussions that really should be had with an obstetrician, especially if you know that celiac disease is in your family, or if you have a high rate of autoimmune disease in your family, something that really should be looked at. Now, if you've already had the experience, your child was born by elective cesarean, what you want to look into is how you can now raise that good bacteria in your child's GI tract. And we talk about this often as far as how to increase the health of that small intestine. If you're a mom getting ready to have a child, you want to do this for yourself as well, not only for the birth canal, but also when you breastfeed, which I highly encourage you to do. Those good bacteria will come through the breast milk as well. So something to be aware of if you can avoid it. If you absolutely cannot avoid it, other things you can do, which is strong breast milk, which comes from mom's robust probiotic population. So you want to do what you can to really raise that health status prior to getting pregnant and delivery, and then also in your child after birth. actually doing what you need to do to raise the immune system there. And that's finding out if they're gluten intolerant, dairy intolerant, good probiotics. There's a few different things that we can look at, which we do talk about. But I really wanted to get this message out, and it was increased specifics on what type of cesarean section is performed. So I hope this was helpful, and please send your questions my way. I love to hear from you all. And until next time, I wish you very good health.